Good day, podcast community. Pete Kane, Podcast Pete, is here, and we have a special guest, a very special guest. We go back a lot of years, and we reconnected just recently at our Rotary Club, and it was
Hmm.
like a reunion. And if you've ever been part of a reunion, you go, "Oh my gosh!" You're laughing, you're kidding, and you're having a fun time because you're thinking about the past and all the different things that went on. So I invited him on the podcast, and I'm telling you, I've invited thousands. Not
Hmm.
everybody takes, but he immediately did it because he's been through enough that he has a lot to share. And so, Marz, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into the podcast.
Well, I just like to say basically, I'm just a regular guy. I don't like to try to put myself or boast more than what I am. I'm just a regular guy. What I do is I want to make an impact to empower others to be able to walk into their intrinsic ability. So I actually focus on facilitating workshops that specialize in building resilience for professionals, helping individuals and teams to manage stress and to thrive through adversity so that they can increase or enhance their performance in the workplace or in life.
Well, when I hear that, I couldn't I couldn't imagine a better time for what we're going through with a lot of stuff,
Mm, mm,
to be able to work on that part of people's growth and development.
mm.
So share with our viewers, like, you didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to do this.
Not at all, Pete.
What
Not at all.
happened? Like, give us some framing for how you got into this and what you went through to really have that focus and want desire to give back and impact people.
Well, to be honest with you, if I can truly be honest with you, it was more of a calling, but somebody speaking into my life and telling me that I'm supposed to be doing more. And this is when I was working at Piedmont Healthcare. And
Mhm.
my manager, actually, she's the one who saw something in me that I already knew was there. But sometimes you need somebody else to actually identify and kind of spark what's inside of you.
Yep.
So she told me, she was like, you're supposed to be out there speaking, you're supposed to be mentoring, you're supposed to be running your own company, writing books, and all these things that she told me that I would be doing, I've actually done up to this point. So that was the beginning of actually, getting the mindset ready. And
Mhm.
then the actual initial, like, I'm going to do this, was my spirit talking to me. And I remember when I was in that cubicle at Piedmont Healthcare, and you know how they say God whispers, his voice whispers. And I
Mhm.
heard a voice come to me and say, I have more for you to do. And I thought the lady next to me was talking to me. And when I looked over, she had on her headphones, right? So I was like, okay, that was kind of awkward. And then I heard it again. It said, I have more for you to do. So I'm like, okay. And then he told me to get up and walk around. And as I walked around this floor that I've been on, I was the 10th floor, and I've been there for about a year and a half. And then people that I saw every day for a year and a half that I befriended and became, colleagues with, I started to see people who gave up their dreams, people who settled, you know what I'm saying? People who walked away from their natural gift to get a paycheck. And it's just like I didn't want that for me.
Mhm.
And when I went back to my cubicle, my spirit asked me one question that I think a lot of people overlook. It said, "Do you trust me?" And like, if your spirit is inside of you, how do you tell yourself, "No, I don't trust you"?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And when I said, "Yes, I trust you," it actually spoke to me and said, "Let's go." And it said, "If you follow me and believe, you'll never have to punch another clock in your life." And I've been doing this now for that was 2014. So this is what, 2025. So
Mhm.
this is what, 11 years. But I mean, in the process of it, I had to go through the steps of being able to cultivate and develop myself. That's one thing the spirit doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you actually the steps that you have to take, because I think sometimes if it told you that, you'll be like, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay right here. Right. So, through the course, I went through coaching programs. I just really started developing myself, developing my speech,
Mhm.
developing my mentality, and just building up that resilience. So that way, like when the obstacles do come, the challenges do come, that you're not so easily swayed or knocked off your platform or what it is that you're doing, because you're kind of grounded and you have that sternness, that steadfastness to be like, okay, that was just a little hit. I mean, we all take hits every day, but when you are called to do something, those hits don't bother you as much. Yeah, it may touch you, it may make you feel bad, but it don't make you be like, oh, I'm just gonna quit. Excuse me, I'm just gonna quit. I'm gonna give up. You know what I mean? So I think when you get that steadfastness and you get your feet grounded and you start to build that resilience, it becomes like when you put a tree, like you heard about the bamboo tree. So you plant the seed, you water it for 5 years, and then it just shoots up, right? But while you're watering it, while it's in the ground, it's building the stem. So that way when it does come up, it's not a weak tree. And I believe that was what God was putting inside of me. So that way, when I got to this level, I would be like, okay, I'm not going to run from it. I'm going to find a way to focus on the solution versus the problem, and keep going and see exactly what does this journey hold, you know?
I love it. I love that bamboo. I had a friend, Crystal Duke, that shared that with me.
Mm-hmm.
Same analogy, the years and years of growing below the
Yes.
surface, and then it just like fires up and grows so
Yes.
fast. And I think it is a good metaphor for life because unfortunately we have a lot of um, things at our fingertips in America. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the instant gratification mindset is I want it now. I don't
Right.
necessarily want to work for it. I want it now because you're on social media and you're seeing this perception of people that are only talking about the later part, even if
Mm-hmm.
they don't go through the struggle. So
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of misinformed about you can't grow, you can't have that bamboo effect
Right.
because at 5 years you say below the surface,
Right.
it's the sweat, it's the hard, it's the trauma, it's the overcoming that
Yeah.
got you through the surface. What would you say, like in your 11-year journey,
Mm-hmm.
was obviously a lot of things that test you. What could you share with our viewers was how you overcame a particular situation? Because I'm just very much tiled into, hey, look, entrepreneurship is hard.
Right.
Don't think that it's easy. The comfort zone of a paycheck is a comfort. But
Right.
if you get out and you know that you need to generate your your self by adding value, it's a whole different mindset than showing up and getting a paycheck. So what would you
Exactly.
say the trauma, some things you could share with our viewers of what you had to kind of face and overcome?
Well, to be honest with you, the biggest thing that I've had to endure my entire life that I didn't see as a superpower was sickle cell anemia,
Hmm.
right? And because it comes with an immense amount of pain, like pain I can't even describe. You know what I mean? Like I've been hospitalized all the way up until about being maybe somewhere between 15, maybe 15, 16. Going in and out of the hospital and just having to endure that pain on a regular basis. And
Hmm.
then what really would really help me to and further look at my intrinsic ability is when I had to persevere through 2 strokes. And I had to look at that, and I had to, because sometimes with a stroke you can lose mobility, you know what I'm saying, cognitive ability, speech. So I wanted to make sure that I strengthened myself in those areas. So I remember I had a friend tell me one time, I did a podcast almost like this, but it was an online radio show, and she said, do you really want to get good at speaking? Well, of course you do. She was like, well, you got to be able to tell more stories. You got to be able to read. You got to be able to articulate, and you have to grow your vocabulary. And once you can work in those areas, it kind of grabs people's attention, because she hit me with the Maya Angelou quote: people won't always remember what you say, but they'll remember how you make them feel.
Yep.
So, sometimes you have to, like, when you're called in a certain area and you really don't understand how to be the best version of what it is, it's like you have to study it and you have to find out exactly what do you have to develop. And I believe that sickle cell my entire life was developing me for the resilience. And then with the stroke helped me to develop the critical thinking.
Mhm.
Because, with me being immobilized within my left extremities, now I have to look at different situations. I have to look at different scenarios. I have to analyze them. And I have to, I know what the problem is. So then I can't focus on the problem. It's about finding a solution on how to be able to navigate through that effectively. And I
Mhm.
think that those are some of the biggest things. And when you said with entrepreneurship is all about those areas. Speaking, being able to network, being able to go out there and pitch yourself to people in so many words, just to build that relationship, build a rapport. And, you kind of want to tell them your story, but you don't want to be long winded. So you get quicker with the way your elevator pitch.
Mhm.
So by me reading, by me studying, and by me learning how to speak a little bit better and be an effective communicator, it all plays a part. Because when you're speaking to people and you're trying to sell a product or a service, they ask you, what do? You can't, you can't mumble, be like, "Ah, ah, ah," you know what I mean? So you have to be able to tell them exactly what it is that you do. And I believe that all those things we do on a day-to-day basis, we do those things in our job, but we just don't see that we doing those things for ourselves. It's easier to see the job and you're going to a job and you think that you're working for that job. In a sense, you are, but at the same time, if you look at it, you're working for yourself. What I like to tell a lot of people in my workshops is you're an LLC. So we'll say I'm working for Marz Bishop LLC. So when I go to work, I know that I'm working for me. So I'm going to put forth the best effort that I can to make sure that I know every area that I develop so I can be effective in. And I think when you take the focus off of I'm working at a job, nah, you're working for you.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
when you learn to develop yourself, you'll see everything that you do in entrepreneurship, you do in a job.
Mhm.
And when entrepreneurship just helps you to hone those abilities a little bit better.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So again, by me going through the stroke, it really prepared me and it taught me how to cultivate myself, and it made me become a life learner. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? As far as developing my cognitive ability, of developing my speech. So that way I'm not, my words don't slur. I articulate. I've had a lot of people tell me they wouldn't even know that I had a stroke.
Mhm.
And, with my articulation and my vocabulary. So I think those are some of the important steps and strategies that people need to really focus on if they, not even just as an entrepreneur, but even in your daily life. When you go to work, take that. If you just take that metaphor or that ideation of saying, I work for me, LLC, and it may change just your whole perspective on how you look at what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. I love how you explain that to our viewers. I had a person share with me. This was about a couple years ago, and they
Mm-hmm.
call it the echo effect. Like what you do today doesn't amplify for like 90 days. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're going through your daily routine and expecting to see it then or
Mm-hmm.
day later, it never comes that way. It's almost
Right.
like a mini, like you were sharing with the bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
What hard work we put in today may
Yeah.
not manifest for 90 days or
Yeah.
even longer.
Yeah.
What have you seen in your travels and what you're doing and working with people? How do you handle that mindset of the instant gratification? Because it's in our built almost built into our culture that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
How do you
Mm-hmm.
challenge, you know, the people in the workshop to kind of think about that LLC? You're in it. What could you share with our viewers to give them a shift in their mindset that would be helpful?
Well, I'll give you two quick activities or two quick different perspectives.
Okay.
First one is we are in a world of instant gratification right now, right? Where you can have your food delivered to you, you can have everything pretty much at your fingertips, right? Okay. So when you think about this, you still have to call the restaurant, the place that you want to get your food from. They still have to make it. They got to prepare it. And then whoever's going to deliver to you, they got to go to the restaurant to pick it up and bring it to you. So within that process right there, that's about a 30 to 45-minute process before the food even comes to you. So in a world of instant gratification, how is that gratifying when if I get up and go to the restaurant, order my food, I still got to sit there and wait for them to make the food, prepare it, and do everything that they got to do in order for me to enjoy the end result of me having that food, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's one. Then you look at it like this. How long does it take to make minute rice, Pete?
Well, I guess by the I think a minute. I'm just guessing, but maybe that's a good guess or not. But
All right. Well, it actually takes about 90 seconds,
okay.
90 seconds to 3 minutes just for to make minute rice, right? So you still have to boil the water. You still have to put the packet in the pot, right? So you still have to do all these steps and go through a process in order to enjoy the end result. So when we talk about a world of instant gratification, what really is instant? Because there is nothing in life the only thing that's instant in this life is death.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that comes at the drop of a dime. You don't even see it coming. But when you talk about life, a life of gratification, what really you're only gratified by the end result, right? But nobody wants to go through the process. Nobody wants to go through the steps. And I think once we understand that there is no such thing as instant gratification, maybe at that point in time, we can change our perspective. Because everything that you do in this life is going to take a process that you have to go through in order to accomplish or achieve anything. You know what I mean? I mean, just look at it. When we go to the Rotary meetings, we still have to go through a process. We get in there, we network, you know what I'm saying? We might shoot the breeze for a couple minutes, but then there's still an agenda that we have to go through, right? So when people build a routine, they're actually creating an agenda for themselves. And the routine becomes almost second nature, because once you can do that over and over again, you don't even see that you're going through the process, because now it's almost on autopilot. So now you already know that this is the agenda, this is the routine, this is what I got to do. So at the end of it, the gratification comes through the process and the steps that I've gone through to put myself in that position. So again, at the end of the day, what is instant gratification? Yeah. I think it's all in the wording. I think we need to come up with a different wording, because we're so caught up in a society where everything is cliche.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to think for themselves. Think for yourself, and then come up with your own mantra on what it is that you want for your life. But there's no instant gratification, because if it takes 5 years for a bamboo tree, you got to get up every day and go out there and water that seed. Right. And then, like we talked about, 5 years it takes for that bamboo tree to even come out the ground. So where's the instant gratification?
Yeah, it's in a world that we have so many conveniences, it's very easy to fall into that mindset that I want it now. The struggle, we will often say the honor is in the struggle. Like, what growth comes from is struggle.
Yeah.
That when you work your way, you figure out how to get through it. When you had your 2 strokes, you had to figure out what was life now after the strokes. I got to learn this. I got to learn this, because I had a guy on my podcast last week, and I always have been saying for probably a couple months, PTSG, which is post-traumatic stress growth, which came from a friend that was on the podcast, and he talked about the growth that he had as a young child growing up in a concentration camp, what it did for him to learn that this was something he had to work through, and it kind of leapfrogged him into a mindset that whenever he got into trauma, he just thought back, well, how did I get through this? How did I get through that? And he started to always grow through his hardship. What would you say, like, when it comes to habits? I'll always share with our podcast community, habits create outcomes. What habit have you been able to kind of maybe share with our viewers what has been working because you started the habit and you've developed a good routine to get the outcome you want?
I think what really helped me, Pete, if I can be honest with you, is when I made the decision to rehabilitate myself. Because I knew I didn't want to. A lot of stroke survivors, with us losing the mobility in our arm, it
Mm.
kind of clams up and it does like that. It's called atrophy. Your arm
Yeah.
goes into atrophy.
Yeah.
And you know, I've never been that person like that. I've always been active. I've always played sports. I always like to engage in different things. And I was just like, I can't allow this to be me. So I created routine, and I get up every morning. I'm in the gym by 3 o'clock in the morning. I like to be in there when nobody else is in there because I get a better workout. And then
Mhm.
I'm not just working out my physical, I'm working out my mental.
Mm.
So I think that is the biggest thing that taught me, like, it taught me about resilience, because resilience is just being able to push through the challenges or the adversities that we may be going through.
Right.
And if you look at it, it's mental distress is psychological, not just physical. So trauma, when you talk about trauma is a psychobehavioral disorder that stems from physical or mental stress.
Hmm.
So that part right there, when you can get your mind locked in on one thing and you can create a routine, like I talked about, you get that agenda, that will be the biggest factor in your life that will change basically almost every part of your life, because it causes you to be locked in one specific area, but it teaches you how to go through the process, and it teaches you, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, but it also teaches you commitment and dedication to yourself, or what you say you're going to do.
Hmm.
And I've been doing that. I've been rehabilitating myself for the last 5 years, and I've been getting up 3 o'clock in the morning basically every for the last 5 years, going to the gym. It started by just getting up, walking around the neighborhood and doing all that. But if anything, I'm going to say that that's the biggest thing, Pete, is that people really have to get a routine. They have to get something that's going to teach them the commitment and dedication to say that I'm not going to give up on me. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? It's
Yep.
so many times we say something, but we don't see, like you just said with the PTSG, we don't see that what we're going through is helping us to grow. And
Hmm.
if you would just make the commitment to yourself, you're gonna help yourself grow. You know what I mean? Because that is a true part of it, is like you have to make that commitment and dedication to yourself, because nobody else can do anything for you. You have to be able to grab life by the horns and be able to persevere and push through it.
Hmm.
Because I really don't believe that we overcome anything. I do believe that, we do persevere, we endure certain challenges. But if you look at it, anybody who, if a person was on sobriety, and they always say that that person fell off the wagon, did they overcome drinking? Did they overcome a drug habit? No, they just learned how to persevere. They found steps to make them better, right? But if they fall off the wagon, if they go back to an old mindset, then they're back in the same place. So when you actually look at what did you overcome, you didn't really overcome anything, but you did learn how to persevere and endure through it, right? So I think it's just more so about changing your mindset and your perspective on how you look at different things that you encounter within this life. Like I said, focus on the solution and not the problem.
Yeah, that is so good. You're the first person, and I've done over 400, that gets up
Okay.
earlier than I do, because I get up at 3:30, and I had a good excuse why, because I have a team that's 13 hours away. So
Okay.
I always got up at 5, but then I started wanting to connect with them, to talk to them each
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get up early, and then from there I would work for a little bit, and I would
Mm-hmm.
take that break at 5, go
Mm-hmm.
down 4 floors where I used to live at Overture, and
Mm-hmm.
work out. But I had all these things I stacked up on top of that habit,
Mm-hmm.
that it was my journaling time, my thinking time, my coffee time, my water, just all these things that I stacked on it that I would miss. I
Yeah.
didn't miss except one day in a
Yeah.
year and a half, because I created I call it Atomic Habits by the book. It's so
Mm-hmm.
many habits stacked on top of it that I just couldn't wait to get going because I knew the outcome, just like
Right.
you share with our viewers. If that outcome is so bigger than the whatever you're going through,
Mm-hmm.
because the person even shared with me willpower. They said there's not really everybody thinks that willpower is the powerful driver.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be times you're not going to feel like it, but if you base those habits that you just described, which is based on your outcome,
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking of the outcome, not just one day when you don't feel like working out at 3 o'clock in the morning. If you depend on habits, you're going to sleep in. You're going to go, heck, it's cold out. I don't want to go outside.
I
But
think those. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no,
Those days come more than people really,
yeah.
But it, like I said, it's the commitment. It's the commitment and dedication that gets you out the bed. Because there's plenty of days that I wake up and I'm like, yo, I really don't feel like doing this. But my mind will be like, nah, come on. This is we committed to this. Let's go. So.
What do you think when it comes to like when you're thinking about? I'll talk to people about like what's your vision or goals or dreams, and I noticed because I work in the rehab space in
Mm-hmm.
volunteering and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I found that idle time and fatigue, those two together are
Killers.
not are killers. Yeah, exactly.
Killers.
Because if you have plenty of idle time, which I heard the average person watches 4 hours of TV, which there's nothing wrong with entertainment, but
Mm-hmm.
4 hours and then
Right.
2 hours of scrolling, which is consuming other people's lives, that's a third of your life you're consuming
Gone.
other
Yeah.
things where we're built to create. And if
Yes.
you can cut if you if you're playing video games all night and you're so tired that you're not showing up that next day, all of a sudden that fatigue will
Yes.
create some problems, which
Yes.
we go to things that aren't so positive, drugs, alcohol, whatever the vice is,
Right.
more because if we're not operating at that highest energy, we allow that fatigue to get us sidetracked. What would you say, like, give our viewers an idea of your daily routine, like starting at 3 o'clock? Like, what does the life of Mars Bishop look like that we can kind of get a better understanding?
Well, my routine is this, Pete, and it's been this for the longest period of time.
Hmm.
I'm up by 2 o'clock to make sure that I'm in the gym by 3. Right. So that is my first go to is I'm in the gym from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So that gives me a 2 hour workout. Right. Once I finish that workout, then I come in, I take a shower, and I do what's called coffee and conversation. Now that's time for me to get my spiritual development together. So
Hmm.
that way that's my time with God. So I'm reading and I'm studying his word. Then after that, that normally ends about sometimes my conversation can go about 2 hours. So I'll say that would be from like 5 to 7, which puts it at prime time because now I can take a break. I can fuel myself, get something to eat, have a cup of coffee, right? Then what I'll do is I'll listen to a podcast. I'll listen to something that will educate me versus something that will entertain me,
Hmm.
right? Because entertainment is going to take away from what I'm trying to do.
Hmm.
So if I keep it to where I'm already in a groove of learning and a groove of having energy, then that's something that I want to stay in. So once I finish my coffee and conversation, I have my breakfast, fuel up, and then I'll start going through like what's called prospecting, right? So now I'm looking for different opportunities. I'm searching whether it be colleges, whether it be corporations. I'm just looking for different opportunities. So that is something that I do from about maybe 8 to 10,
Hmm.
right? So that gives me a 2 hour window of prospecting. What I'll do after that is I'll do either follow up emails with people that I'm trying to build that rapport with. So
Mhm.
I'll do follow up emails or I'll do cold calls, and then that'll take me to what we're about 10 o'clock. So that takes me to about maybe I'd say 11:30 because I do that for about an hour or so, and
Mhm.
then I'll take lunch around maybe 12:30, and then once I finish that, then I'm just trying to do. I'll probably repeat the cycle, whatever. Maybe do some more emails or do some more cold callings, and then once I finish that, depending on what day it is, I have different days that I'll do different things. So after I finish that, it's probably going to be about maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and I run it just like a business, and I shut down at 5. So my day has gone from going to the gym to making sure that I prospect, having time with God. I'm putting all these things in there. It's called the core four: mind, health, balance, wealth. And once you get all those things together, now you know that you've touched every area in your life,
Mhm.
right? And then when I shut down by 5 o'clock, then I could focus on maybe the entertainment part if I don't do some reading, right? But I like to read more than I like to watch TV.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because TV dumbs you down, and I think we live in a society right now where we're so like you say, consumed, whether it be on social media, whether it be on entertainment, on TV. We're in a time where people aren't really developing, cultivating themselves. They're
Yeah.
not being readers. They're not being people who are studying, researching. You know, and I think that's important because I once was that person. I hated reading, right? Because I spent so much time in a hospital. I didn't like school, because I was never I could never catch up. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And now that I'm in this phase of life, and it's crazy how things come full circle. Because now it has made me an avid reader. Now it has made me a person who wants to be, to study, to, not focus so much on the entertainment, but focus on the education, because the education you can never take away from me.
Mhm.
So I think those are that, like I said, the agenda and the routine that you have is very important. So
Yes.
my routine is not just go to the gym, come home, and then no, it's running a business and making sure that I do what I need to do,
Yep.
to move it forward. Because when people think about, oh, you're a speaker or you're a consultant, that's just a small part of what I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
80 to 85% is the back business.
Mhm.
You got to build a rapport, and that's the most important part of any business. Whether you are an employee or whether you're an entrepreneur, a
Yep.
CEO, whatever you are, is building a relationship. And that's the part that we are missing right now in this society, is
Yes.
building relationships. Because like you said, everybody wants that instant gratification, or everybody wants it to be about me, me, me. But
Mhm.
when you take your focus off of you and you put it on somebody else, I think John C. Maxwell said it the best. When you help people get what they want, they will in turn help you get what you want.
Yes.
So it's one hand washes the other. So
Yep.
it's all about, building that routine, and just, again, Pete, it just goes back to just focusing on the solution.
Yeah.
What is the solution that's going to get you out of the situation that you're in?
Totally.
And that's what has helped me so far.
Man, I love it. And what I'd love to do is continue our conversation, because when you're speaking, just that you just shared, I think in what I have seen out there, what really has been, I don't know, laying on my heart is that consumption versus creating.
Yes.
That we are in a society that consumes other people's lives.
Yes.
God created us to create, not to
Yes.
consume other people's lives. It's your life.
Yes.
You're creating it. He
Mm-hmm.
created it. And what did he do? 6 days, and then his seventh day was rest.
Rested on
We
the
have
seventh.
to rest ourselves. If we're staying up all night watching video
Yeah.
games, doing all, and then we're fatigued the next day, there's
Yeah.
nothing good that comes from that
Nah.
routine. And I love how you share. how getting up at 2 o'clock. Most people are sleeping. I don't catch it till 3:30. So now
Right.
I text and say, Marz, what's up, brother? And whenever people, I go to bed at 8. So
Okay.
text me at 8:30 and I'll see it the next day. And I'll say,
Yeah.
I was sound asleep. I was in dreamland when you text.
Yeah.
And they
I
say,
could.
what? You go to bed that early? I said, yeah, I get up early. I
I'm
need that
normally in the
sleep.
bed by like I'm normally asleep by like 9:30.
Yeah.
So I'm right there
Yeah.
with you.
Oh yeah. I think it's that routine. So I want you to share with our viewers how can they get a hold of you? I'll put it up on the screen, but for our audio listeners, would you
Hmm.
share how they can get a hold of you and how they can work
Yes,
with you?
you can actually connect with me on IG, Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, all Marz Bishop. Everything is concise, MarzBishop. On IG is Marz Bishop GL. On Facebook it's Marz Bishop, and on LinkedIn it's Marz Bishop as well. So I try to keep everything concise, or you can email me, marzbishop@gmail.com.
Awesome, man. This is good. Now, as we wind down and we finish up, what would be the one thing that you would want our viewers to take away from our time on this podcast?
One thing that I really want them to take away is you have the ability to accomplish whatever it is that you set your mind to. Through my journey, it has taught me you don't know how much you don't want to die till you almost die.
Mm-hmm.
If you're given breath, make the best that you can of that breath and use it to the fullest, and never let circumstances be bigger than your ability, because you have the ability to change any area of your life if you put forth the effort and dedication to do so.
And I love that. I don't have anything to add to that. Just thank you, viewers. Take that in and reach out to Marz to get a hold of him. To whether it's a workshop or having him come to speak to your group,
Yes.
reach out to him because today is probably more important. There's so much challenging mental health issues, and I think it gets back to what we said about idle time and fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to create.
Yes.
So shifting to that, Marz can help you by coming in and speaking to your group. Because that whether you're a company or not, just what you said, everybody needs to think that they're their own within an organization.
Entity. Yeah.
Yes, you are LLC within whatever you're doing out there
Yes. Yes.
because it's important that having that mindset. So,
Yes.
Marz, thank you so much for being with us. And if you wouldn't mind staying on after the podcast, I want to share a couple things with you.
Yes, definitely. I look forward to it.
Okay. Thank you so much.